The 2021 Sea-Doo RXP-X 300 got Watercraft of the Year. RXP-X gets a full redesign for 21. I'm skeptical. I am. I'm skeptical. And I'm skeptical because, quite frankly, the ST3 hull disproves itself offshore. So I'm looking at it going, oh my goodness, if they mess up the RXP-X hull, Sea-Doo's not going to have a racer. Sea-Doo is not going to have a performer, an actual racecraft. And I'm nervous. I mean, you can ask anyone who was at that press release. Jerry Gaddis, Randy Cabrera, Jeff Hemmel, all those guys. They were like, Kevin was sick as a dog over it. Because it's like, if they mess up the RXP-X, they're in trouble. I was looking for how much of the ST3 was in the RXT or was in the RXP hull. And they said, let's get these damn things in the water. Let's go ride. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they throw me on a purple one. In fact, this is the one that I rode. And I idle through the water. Randy's got his little camera out, and everyone's fully farting around. I haven't even brought my camera gear out. I've got my gloves on. I'm like, I'm going to burn through the first 2 bars on this tank as fast as humanly possible. But as soon as I get out of the no wake, everyone kind of goes, oop, 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 oop. I was already in sport mode. I was already trimmed. Whoa! I was off. I had the seat because, the single seater. I was tucked in. I wanted to feel what the hull wanted to do. And I wanted to see how far removed it was from the T3. I go out there. There's about 1 to 1.5 foot wind blown. It's kind of washed out. And I got it nose down, and I am just white knuckles. Just into every single turn. I'm like, all right, I want to be thrown. I'm like, throw my ass. I want them pulling me in on another boat. And I was in it. And there was 1 or 2 guys who were out there filming, and they were watching me just cut S-turns. And I was just snapping it as hard as I could. And I'm like, okay, it's not doing anything weird. That's good. I was happy with that. I'm like, the RXP-X is not doing anything weird that the old T3 didn't already do. The only time it did anything weird was was wide open throttle, mid trim. It would unhook the pump. And I'm talking pinned wide open. Pinned wide open, 71 miles an hour, 72 miles an hour, because we were on RS units. It would unhook the pump. And it would surge. Huh, 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 huh. And the second day, because I stayed a second day, I wasn't some tourist. I was actually going to stay as many days as CD would let me stay. And they were like, you're the only one. I'm like, great, let's go out. And they're like, okay, we're going to give you half a day. I'm like, great, let's do it. But I went out and I rode the piss out of that ski. And that second day, it was a little bit rougher going across the lake. And I realized it absolutely needed to be completely trimmed up. Absolutely in rough water. Just pinned. Get the nose completely 100% up. Put as much weight over the back as you can. And just squat it. And that was the only way to keep that pump loaded. And you had to force feed the pump. And I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, I get it. I get what the ski wants to do. And I was very happy with the RXP-X for what it was. It wasn't going to handle like a GP. I knew that. It wasn't going to handle like an FZ. I knew that. It was going to handle like a Sea-Doo. Sea-Doos handle differently. Sea-Doos behave differently. That's fine. It is what it is. But you have to know how it wants to handle. So I was happy with the RXP-X. I was able to see what it wanted to do in corners. I was concerned about the hull. And they marketing speak, they said we made 30 changes to the hull. Okay, great. I was satisfied with those. So that's good. Then it came to the top deck. Sea-Doo, and I laugh at everyone who gets in my face over this, is that the full-size skis have 27 gallons of storage. The RXP-X right there has 43.5 gallons or 42.5 gallons of storage. Almost double. Almost double. It's not really almost. Glove box is huge. They didn't sacrifice the glove box. Front storage is huge. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Ergo-Lock R with that sporty back seat is not my favorite. Doesn't fit my need as a father. Does not fit my need as a bigger guy. I don't buoy race. But they had two really good points. Number one, guys who buy RXP-Xs 99% of the time ride solo. So they're like, well, we're not hurting anyone. They're riding solo anyway. Number two is that it's a sporty ski. And it was a selling point to sell the back seat. I actually love the back seat for the RXP-X. The back seat for the RXP-X is outstanding. It has this outstanding handle in the middle, this soft molded plastic rubber handle that Tim McKercher and the marketing guys were jokingly calling it the Bronco handle. Should have been called the Bronco handle because it's bitching. And that handle should be on every single three-seater. 100% right now, get rid of the stupid strap and put the Bronco handle on every single back seat that Sea-Doo offers. So then we were looking at it and it was like, how is it really changing the industry? Not so much. It's the latest, greatest hot rod. It's not the biggest. It's not going to change everyone's buying habits. The only reason why it had the impact of changing people's buying habits is because those were available. Execution of that ski was outstanding. The lumbar hump and the back seat, or the back seat delete, and the lumbar hump and the seat, worth the cost of admission. All right. X steering. I have forcibly pushed the adjustable neck all the way down in rough water, so I don't really care for it. So it's not one of those additions I would add. And since it's an addition, it's not really a standard item. I didn't really count that as a negative in the execution category. Design-wise of the ski, everyone felt it was gorgeous. We all felt that it was a very good-looking ski. Believe it or not, I actually really liked the Millennium Yellow over the Midnight Purple. All right. Innovation was, to be honest, we went back to the seat, and we went back to Link, and we went back to Ergo-Lock. And those were big. See, what's interesting is that my RXP-X, that's the loaner that I've got it equipped with a bunch of stuff. I've got the kids' back seat. I got the back seat on it. I have a folding swim step. I have the cargo pouch that's in the actual hood, or in the front hood. Then I've got some performance parts on it. And I have come to find that the RXP-X is incredibly versatile for being sold as a one-seater racecraft. And that was the most surprising thing for me, was using it outside of its outside of its initial parameters. And that was an interesting question, or an interesting conversation I had with some Sea-Doo guys. They're like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm using it all the wrong ways. I'm using it wrong. And they just laughed at me. And I said, I'm using it wrong. And they just kind of giggled, you know, they're like, okay. I go, but the versatility of it. And I go, I got all this storage space. I got all this room. And now with these accessories that I've cherry picked has completely opened up that ski into being a totally different machine. And that is, I think, the biggest, the most pleasant surprise out of the RXP-X.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. This clip was taken from our weekly podcast that we record here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to watch the whole video, you can go to the Watercraft Journal's YouTube channel, go to playlists, and then click on live sessions. You're going to see it there. Otherwise, go ahead and leave a like, a comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow. And again, thanks again for watching our videos, and we hope to see you soon.